Today, Prime Minister Netanyahu just fired Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. Why now? In the middle of a war. Galant is no lightweight. He's a former Shayetet Shalosh Esrei commando, an Israeli SEAL who knows the battlefield. But Netanyahu, a Seret Matkal, General Staff Reconnaissance Unit veteran himself, thinks Gallant's strategy was a risk that Israel couldn't afford. Is this a necessary show of strength or a dangerous shakeup when Israel can't afford instability? I'm going to break down the clash between two very seasoned, hardened leaders with extensive military backgrounds and what it means for Israel's future. Welcome to the Aaron Cohen Show. I'm Aaron Cohen, Israeli Special Operations veteran. On my show, I peel back the magic curtain behind Israel's incredible special operations, and I combat that anti-Israel misinformation. Before I get started, this episode of the Aaron Cohen Show, sponsored by the Cherry's Deep Concealment Holster. This is the same holster I trained Keanu on for the John Wick franchise. You're not going to find an IWB holster more comfortable or more concealable. Groundbreaking below the waistband technology, or BWB technology, literally runs below your waistline. Zero digging into your gut, allowing you to wear this thing comfortably while seated out all day. And let me add this. Lightning fast draw with just a little bit of training. Also, this thing's never going to fall off you if you need to go hands-on. For you grapplers out there, if you need to de-escalate, you got to go hands-on. Or if you're off-duty and you're carrying, you want to make sure your weapon's not going to fall off you. If you want to carry concealed and with confidence, trust me, this is the last holster you're ever going to need. All right, let's get to it. Today's breaking news: Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has dismissed Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, citing a crisis of trust. This move comes as Israel faces simultaneous conflicts with Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in the north, Houthis, elements in Iraq and Syria, all tentacles from the Iranian top of that terror sphere. Galant has been pushing for a temporary ceasefire to facilitate the release of Israeli hostages held by Hamas, a position that put him at odds with Netanyahu's hardline approach. Now, Bibi's decision has sparked immediate protests across Israel, citizens expressing fear and concern over potential government instability b'zman shel milchama, or at a time of war. So, in response to Gallant's dismissal, Netanyahu has appointed Foreign Minister Israel Katz as the new defense minister, and while Gideon Sa'ar is set to take over as foreign minister. So these rapid appointments signal Netanyahu's intent to maintain a strong, cohesive leadership amidst this mounting, amidst this pressure and these mounting regional threats. I want to peel back this a little bit farther now and dig a little deeper here. Let's not forget who Netanyahu is. Before becoming Israel's longest-serving prime minister, Netanyahu was a former commando in Israel's elite Seyeret Matkal, their General Staff Reconnaissance Unit. Israel's top-tier special operations unit, known for its daring and highly classified missions. Seyeret Matkal, often called the unit in Israel, or a Yechida, is Israel's equivalent to Delta Force. Netanyahu participated in numerous highly publicized and very covert missions that never got any publicity. But the most famous is the 1972 Sabina Flight 571 hijacking, where Seyeret Matkal successfully rescued hostages from a hijacked plane. I'm going to do an episode on that soon and break down that mission. And tragically, Netanyahu's brother Yonatan who's a national treasure, commanded the unit during the famed 1976 Entebbe raid in Uganda, which freed over 100 Israeli hostages, a mission that succeeded but cost Yonatan Netanyahu his life. And Netanyahu's personal loss and deep involvement in these types of operations give him an understanding of counterterrorism and military operations. The guy's been around the block. He's also been in politics for a really long time. And Bibi has proven himself to be a strong wartime leader. And this background means that Netanyahu, isn't just some politician making, decisions from behind a desk. He's a leader with hands-on combat experience. You may not know this. Bibi was shot multiple times on that Sabina raid. And he's deeply familiar with the complexities of the region and understands counterterrorism. And when he says he believes that Israel must project that unwavering strength that comes from years of understanding. He talks about tzich levin et safa shel hamizrach hatichon. You need to speak the language of the Middle East. Bibi speaks it. Now let's talk about Yoav Gallant. He served in Israel's Shayet at Shalosh Esrei. Israel's elite Navy SEALs, often compared to the U.S. Navy SEALs. Shayet at Shalosh Esrei, or Flotilla 13, specializes in maritime counterterrorism, sabotage, over-the-beach OTB, and deep-sea operations and sabotage. And Galant took part in some very well-known dangerous and strategic missions, including targeting terrorist leaders and other high-value targets. One of the Shayet's most famous operations recently is the interception of the Keren A in 2002, where the unit seized a ship carrying 50 tons of weapons bound for Hamas in Gaza. And this mission showed how the Shayet was capable of preventing arms smuggling that could threaten Israel, and look at exactly what happens when Hamas is allowed to continuously rule in Gaza after Israel's pullout. Gallant's military experience, especially leading various high-risk operations, he commanded as the Southern Command Chief of the IDF, and he helped shape a lot of the policies and a lot of the protection over Israeli citizens as one of his jobs in his career, and so he's gained a lot of experience. Both men, it's safe to say, know their stuff. And while Gallant has a 35-year background, again, Bibi is no slouch. He's been in this business a long time. I will say this. While Netanyahu's experience in Seyret Matkal adds a layer of understanding about the complexities of the Middle East through his lens, his decision to remove Galant, I don't think was made lightly. I think this has been calculated, and a calculated move coming from someone. I think Bibi's been thinking about this for a while. And I think that the Prime Minister believes that Israel cannot afford even the slightest perception of weakness. And while Gallant's departure, and again, this is just my opinion, poses operational challenges, ultimately, it's Bibi's prerogative to choose the path that he believes best protects Israel. Next, I want to address the political turmoil versus the national security piece. Critics are quick to argue that Gallant's dismissal could destabilize the government and spark political unrest. And that's already happening. We're seeing that unfold as we speak. Protesters have taken to the streets, concerned that this shakeup could weaken Israel at a time when national unity is critical. Remember, Israel's at war here on 7 fronts. But Netanyahu's supporters point out that in times of war, it's decisive leadership that needs to take front and center. It's got to be paramount. Political division has to take a backseat to national security, especially when it comes to Israel in its situation, which is so dangerous. And so Netanyahu laser focused right now on protecting the country. So it's true that Gallant's strategy could have been or was well-intentioned and rooted in his military background, which is that hostage rescue as well. His belief in that temporary pause was meant to save lives, protect Israeli soldiers, get hostages back, but Netanyahu ultimately is responsible for the long-term security calculus, for lack of a better term. and his decision reflects a broader strategy aimed at ensuring that Israel's enemies do not again perceive any signs of weakness. And I want to break that down a little bit more. And whether you agree with this decision or not, and Israel's very polarized, which is the point of a democracy. The Arab countries don't have it. It's all driven by the same single goal, which is Israel's survival. I want to pivot, though, quickly to Yoav Gallant's background a little bit more. This guy's got over 35 years in the IDF. He's led tons of operations that have kept Israel safe, literally the tip of the spear. He was the commander of Shayetet Shalosh Esrei. He was the commander of the Southern Command in Israel. He's made some very tough calls regarding Israel's most complex decision-making throughout this 35 years. And he is a strategic thinker which has earned him widespread respect. He's very respected by the IDF and the Israeli military. And his removal doesn't erase his contributions. Let me make that really clear. Gallant's legacy lives on through the soldiers that he commanded, the soldiers that he's trained, all the leadership positions that he's had. And yet Netanyahu, as the leader, again, has to make the choice that he thinks best protects Israel. But again, it's ultimately up to Netanyahu. But what I want to do now is I want to do a bit of a comparative analysis. Israel has faced similar moments where defense ministers were dismissed during very critical times. From Moshe Dayan's controversial leadership, and Moshe Dayan was an absolute giant. It's one of the sculptors of the IDF. His controversial leadership during the Yom Kippur War back in 73, to Ehud Barak, one of the commanders of Seret Matkal and one of the IDF chief of staff, a former prime minister from Israel, also faced a lot of tension during his tenure. These moments have happened before during critical wartime. And Netanyahu's decision, which is divisive. Again, this isn't the first leader to make a controversial call in the name of national security for Israel. Ultimately, history will judge this outcome. But for now, I believe that Netanyahu is doing his best to protect Israel from all threats. And I think that ultimately, again, it's going to be his responsibility because the onus is really going to lay on him. This episode, sponsored by the Cherry's Deep Concealment Holster. Same holster I trained Keanu on for the John Wick franchise. Super comfortable, lightning fast draw, never going to come off you because of where it rides. Below the waistband technology. Hit the link in my description. Go to cherryscounterterror.com. Grab yourself one of these and toss out the other 1,000 holsters you have in a box. Trust me, this thing is an absolute beast. Want to thank you guys for listening to this episode. If you're a fan of my work and you want to support the show, become a sponsor. There's also a link in the description. Get yourself a mini sponsorship package. They're about $25. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching. Going to come back as this story develops. That's all I've got on this one right now. Please support the show. Please like, please subscribe, all that goodness. And I will catch you guys soon on the next one. That's the latest. I'm Aaron Cohen. You're watching The Aaron Cohen Show.